Remember when you were young and everything in life seemed so much more fun and the possibilities seemed endless? Is that still the same for you, or has life become a serious business? Wherever you are, you can change it. What if more magic, fun, and possibilities were available to you right here, right now? Join Laura and Alun in the playground of possibility as they play, laugh, and explore new ways you can use to make your life more fun and to create more of what you desire.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Playground of Possibility with myself, Alan Jones, and my beautiful co-host, Laura Borland.
Hello.
It's really exciting because that's the first time we've pulled this together, and it feels really, really real.
It does, and you know what? I really liked how that man said my name, Laura. My accent's not as good.
So he's manipulating you well then, would you say?
He did such a good job of it.
So, yeah, we need to pay him a bit more money, I think. So what I before we talk about today's show, I just wanted to say just a little bit about what Laura and I, or what we wanted to do, was just talk about why we wanted to do the show. And really, it was here to have a lot of fun, to talk to people about what else is possible in the world, and how we had both played around with, in the past, shall I do a radio show, shall I not do a radio show, and then you step up and do it. And
with
it's
such
been
ease.
Yeah, it totally has. It's all been about choice. So, when we choose to do it, what happened, Laura? We chose to do it, and then
bang, bang, bang.
Exactly.
Here we are.
And a big thank you to Christine for making it so easy for us. Her and her team have just been awesome. So, how do we get on with today's subject? So today is, Laura, are you willing to be a manipulative bitch?
Absolutely not, Alan. How could you suggest such a thing?
It's shocking, isn't it? I mean, you're really
shocking.
Yeah, you're very, very bad to even consider manipulating anybody.
It's funny though, because in all seriousness, actually, it is a word that really people push against, and it brings up all sorts of stuff for people, and people are like, manipulation, absolutely not, which always makes me giggle because I've always quite liked the word.
Have you? So what's your earliest memory of manipulation?
Wow, great question. I don't know, something that, not one that I can share on air.
Really?
Yeah. Well, when you were wee and you did stuff, and then you kind of realised that, maybe that wasn't so good that you did it, so you just kind of said what you knew your parent had to hear.
Right. No,
I've never done that. You pretended that you hadn't really been fully aware of what it was you were doing and choosing.
Yes.
But you never did that either, right? No,
absolutely not. No, I never ever lied to my mother to control her to get, to blame other people and all of that kind of stuff. No. So, and I think the thing about I think children actually have no point of view about manipulation. We're not brought into this world thinking the manipulation is wrong, and we do it from the moment we wave hello to the world. You pop out. Yeah. On or not, as the case may be. Not going there. And
not if you're a baby's unable to walk yet.
That's a subject for another show. So you come out, and what does a baby do? First of all, it cries. Why does it cry? Because it wants comfort, because it wants attention, potentially because it wants food, or wants its nappy changed, and all of those things that a baby will do. And as it gets older, until it starts to speak, it has to find some way of making people understand what its needs are. And we don't judge children and babies for that. Oh, it's very cute, isn't it?
It's really interesting you say that as well, because it's like, talking about we people, we come into the planet and we have no point of view about manipulation being good or bad. And then really quickly we kind of like, we learn that that's like, it's not good. From the people around us, and that's really curious, because then what is really natural, we start to really kind of like weird energy around it.
Yeah, so all of the stuff that came naturally to us before, we're all of a sudden finding out actually we're not supposed to do that because somebody else is unhappy with it. I remember being kind of quite, because under 10 when I remember hearing my mother talking about somebody saying, actually probably about my sister she's a manipulative bitch. And it was really said with real vehemence, and my sister was mortified and really upset, and how could she talk to me like that? How could she be so mean? Mm-hmm. And really, all that she was doing was just being something that she had always been. So at that point, it was like, I shouldn't be doing this.
It's really funny when you said that as well, because you're like, a manipulative bitch, and it's like, it doesn't even sound light, does it?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
How could we make that sound really light?
And what kind of manipulation is that in itself?
Absolutely.
Effectively, what was actually going on at that time for with my sister and my mother, and why all that was going on. It's like, my mother was trying to manipulate my sister into doing or being something by calling my sister a manipulative bitch, and of course, my sister kind of totally went with it, and thought that she was horrible and mean and really, really nasty, when really that wasn't the case at all. She was just doing what was perfectly natural to her. And I can't even remember what the situation was, but I remember at the time thinking, wow, and it felt really heavy. So who was being the most manipulative there?
Absolutely. And, it makes me wonder in terms of so for the people who are listening, who are pushing back and going, I don't like this word manipulation, it makes me wonder kind of where in your life is it working for you that you're not acknowledging? So, something you'd said earlier, Alan, was we were, before the show, we were talking, and you were saying, it's like I walk into a shop and I smile at the people behind the counter. So is that manipulation?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think it can be very easy to, and I know when I was kind of thinking about the show and pulling together just some notes for myself about how easy it was for me to find really negative ways, or apparently negative ways of manipulating.
Absolutely, because if you're smiling at everyone, you're such an outrageous flirt.
Me? A flirt? As if I would ever use anything like that. Actually, yeah, that is true, and I've got a couple of examples I can use of that later on. But yeah, I think going back to the shop assistant part, there was a woman at the supermarket who works on the customer care desk, where you would go for your refunds and stuff. And for the first couple of years we used to go in there, she would always be really, really miserable with me and Bill. And, she would really begrudge kind of giving us a refund. She would always question everything, and we just get used to resist it more and more and more. And the more we resisted it, the less she was happy to kind of give us what we wanted, basically. And I just said to Bill, why don't we just try being really, really nice to her? And he went, but I can't stand the woman. And I went, yeah, but let's just do this just to see what happens. And we did. We were really kind of, hi, how are you? And all the kind of the very nice stuff that went with it, and smiling, you look a bit tired, you had a busy day, and it must be really annoying doing your job. And all of these things we said, but the very point of manipulating her into being nice. And now, whenever we go in there, she doesn't question us once, ever.
That's so funny. I've got a friend who talks about it's all about disarming with charm, and she's so good at it.
Absolutely, and it really can work. When you are in a situation where you think, okay, what will it take for me to get my own way here? And we went in, we had bad service, so now whenever I go in there, she knows that we, from her perspective, we're trustworthy, we're very, very nice. And is that true? Well, maybe, maybe not.
In this 10 seconds, maybe.
Absolutely. It's all just an interesting point of view. From her point of view, from the whole manipulation thing, is whether manipulation is bad or wrong is just an interesting point of view from my perspective. Because the way one person... Sorry, go.
Well, I was just going to say, you made a really, really good point there when you actually talked about, manipulating someone to get what you want. And I think that for many people, they see manipulation as taking advantage of someone else so that you leave them worse off than you found them. And for me, that's a real kind of it's just not how it works, because it's like, so what if manipulation was creating something that was greater for everybody? An iron fist in a velvet club.
Yeah.
Club.
What? Yeah, an iron fist in a velvet club. Spank.
I used to use that. I actually had a wonderful mentor. Thank you for that, Deb. I had a wonderful mentor who said, Laura, it's all about being iron fist in a velvet glove. And I was like, you might have to teach me that. But she was, it's so true.
I think, that it is all about what's required.
Yes.
What's required to create the most. And the thing is, the more you refuse manipulation as a possibility, the more you're potentially closing down opportunities to create more, not just for you, but for other people too.
Yeah.
And if you want your children to do so, if we're looking at it from the go back to the children perspective, if you want your children to do things, there are ways that you can manipulate your children to get their homework done. It's either which do you use? Do you use the carrot or the stick? They're both manipulations. And whether you perhaps call it that or not, but if you're saying to your children, or we can go and see that film on Friday if you're really good and you get your homework done. Yeah. Now, being good is an interesting point of view because that has all sorts of judgments around what actually is good behaviour. But it is that, if you do all your homework, then we can go and see that film. That's manipulation.
Share the story about your friend who was poorly. That made me laugh.
So I don't know if Sasha's listening or not. She said she might, so if you are, hello Sasha, this is all about you. And yes, I'm manipulating her.
It's all about us.
I'm manipulating her so that she continues listening to the show. So I think at the point Sasha was either ill or unwell or something had happened and she wasn't feeling brilliant. And her son, who obviously wanted some sweets, kind of walked up and said, "Do you know what, Mummy? I know what would make you happy again. If you, I would make you better if you go and buy me some sweets." And that's just absolute, pure, unadulterated manipulation. And Sasha was just found so funny and amusing. Mm-hmm. And because of that blatant manipulation that you can kind of just laugh off, it's just fantastic. And there was absolutely no judgment. Ben didn't think, my mum's really ill, I shouldn't ask for sweets. And that's not to say he's a bad kid, because he really isn't. He's actually one of the best behaved kids I've ever met. But it was just that whole thing around, I know what would make you happy, Mummy, is if you buy me some sweets.
But how confusing must it be for children? Because they're such amazing wee sponges for picking stuff up, and then there they are. It's like, so they get that they're being manipulated. They imitate the energy back, and that's wrong. Curious.
Yes, yeah, it is curious, and I know we're about to go to a break shortly, but so we can perhaps talk about that more afterwards. But I think that's absolutely right. It's when they're told manipulation is wrong, mm-hmm. and then when they see it happening everywhere around them. Yeah. I see people manipulating all the time, but when I do it, or when I'm caught doing it, because that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like, when you're caught manipulating, it's like, shit, I've been caught manipulating, and who likes to be caught manipulating? Unless you want to be caught manipulating, which is an out manipulation, which is, that's just made my brain fry, not my brain. It is a bit of a wedgie.
It is a bit of a wedgie. Cool, so we've got 1 minute to break. So when we come back, we actually, to explore maybe a little bit about the confusion, because I think the confusion that we have as kids, we actually take into adulthood. Adulthood, interesting word. When we have big bodies as opposed to wee small bodies.
Yeah, I'm still a little person in a big body.
Yeah, exactly. But actually even talking about, like in the workplace, it's like thinking about motivation. And thinking about how we kind of like get people motivated in work, and actually just connecting that with manipulation would be really curious just to explore a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So after the break, we can... So yeah, just kind of killing time now because I'm not quite sure when the little button's going to be pushed. So who do I have to manipulate to get a break round here?
That's really funny.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hi, you're listening to the Playground of Possibilities with myself, Laura, and my co-host Alun. Alun sent me a message, but he said that I was Alun and he was Laura, and that's really a bit confusing.
I'm manipulating you into being me.
You're making me look like a fool. Anyway, so so this is our first show. I am thinking that people might be, who are these people? So perhaps we should tell them a little bit about ourselves. What do you think?
Absolutely. Who are you, Laura, and why are you here?
I have no idea.
Awesome.
No, so seriously, so I have also learning. What would it take for me to be able to read and talk at the same time? So I'm a coach. I love working with people in terms of being able to kind of like blow up their limitations and create like new possibilities. And I really like playing with individuals and businesses. And I've got a background in leadership and all sorts of traditional stuff as well. I'm thinking that maybe is that enough? Do you think I should say anything more? And I really like mushrooms.
Well, can you manipulate mushrooms into a nice meal? There's a fabulous way of using the word manipulate.
Mushrooms are just awesome. Apart from onion rings are awesome. But anyway, I'm digressing.
We are digressing. Maybe we have a show one day about mushrooms and onion rings. But I think, so the manipulation thing also is about how you use different, so when you make bread, you manipulate the dough. When you use mushrooms, you manipulate your mushrooms to make a meal. So it's all about just using energy and moving it around. And does the universe have any perspective or point of view at all about whether manipulation is bad or wrong? Doesn't it manipulate stars? Anyway, back to me.
Yes, back to me. I was like thinking there is some creative avoidance going on there. So tell us about you.
Tell me about you. Tell you about me. So this is Alun, in case you hadn't worked that out yet. And I'm the one who just can't shut up. So what would it take to manipulate me to shut up? What would I like to say about me? I do all sorts of things in my life, and I will play with whatever energy appears to me that feels light. So that sounds really strange, and I know that's very difficult to explain.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It years ago, I would say that I do this. I'm an HR manager because my background is in human resources in investment banking. That's kind of where it is.
Wow,
and
that sounds so exciting.
It was wonderfully exciting in human resources. And the bit I loved about most of it working in human resources was the coaching of people and helping them to empower themselves. It's something I've been passionate about all my life. And I've also found that all my life people have opened up to me. And I find, I will sit there talking to somebody and they'll say to me, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never met you before. And so clearly there's, an energy that I have that makes people feel comfortable opening up to me, which is great because they usually go away feeling wonderful. So how can I use that to create more for everyone? So I left investment banking and now I do a range of things, including one-to-one coaching. I do access bars, I do access consciousness sessions, and I do Reiki, and I do all sorts of things, and you can read all about that on my website. But my passion really is about creating change. It's about helping people to know who they are, what they want to choose, and what kind of makes them happy, what makes their life happy, what makes it fun for them. And while... Hey, what?
Sorry. Well, I was just going to, and where can people find you?
Where can they find me? I was just about to, we were on the same wavelength there. People can find me on my website, which is www.alun, which is ALUN, so www.alun-jones.com. And, where can they find you, Laura?
Mostly sitting on top of a hill. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
Excuse me. My website is lauraborland.com. That's BORLAND. So
L-A-U,
and I guess it's LAURA. So and I'm thinking that actually people will get to know us as we do the show. So.
Oh, they won't. They'll just switch off.
No, they won't. There was a message come in, and Deborah had said, the dictionary has two definitions of manipulate: handle or control in a skillful manner, or control and influence cleverly or unscrupulously. Which one are you two?
It depends on what's required. Will I be unscrupulous? Well, it depends. I have no point of view about that. It depends on what would create the most.
So tell us about how you motivated people when you were in HR, working in the HR.
Yeah, it was interesting actually, because they call it motivation when you're in those professional kind of firms, and they talk about, how to get the best out of your staff, which basically means how do you manipulate them to get the job done? Mm-hmm. How do you manipulate? And that's really what it is, and whether they acknowledge that that's what they're doing is another story. Some people might and some people won't. But I had a number of different people working for me. I had two assistants and one kind of assistant, and actually kind of assistant who managed three other people. And all of them required from me a different approach. So with one of my assistants, I didn't have to, but when I would talk to her to ask her to do a piece of work, it would be prefaced with, "Hi, how are you? How's your day going? How are you feeling? Are you having fun?" There was lots of what I would call pleasantries before that, and that for her helped her to feel valued. And I had another assistant that when I tried doing that with her, she would just look at me as if I was mad, and she would just get to the point. What do you want from me? And it really used to drive her mad if I did any of the kind of nice pleasantry stuff before. So they were very different. They both required very different things. And I could have quite happily said to both of them, well, that's not my style either of those. This is the way I do it. Deal with it. Mm-hmm. But would that have created the best for all of us?
No.
We worked in an office where, we had to work really closely on the work that we were doing. And if they didn't, if we didn't work closely and we didn't communicate and we didn't get on, could we have provided the service to our client base as well as what was expected? And so for those two, that was more about approach. And then we come on to that whole thing that, again, you and I were talking about earlier on today.
Can I just say something actually about that? Because, excuse me, something I got aware of was, so I actually work with some really amazing tools called Enermetics. And what they basically help people do is get more clarity about their talent and preferences. And an awareness that I had was a lot of the inner metrics tools are really about helping people to be able to manipulate each other, because a lot of the stuff you were just saying there about the preferred communication, it's almost like once we know what we like, we can start to kind of like look at what's required in other situations. And so I guess if anyone's curious in terms of like what you guys are talking about is really interesting, but I'd be curious to learn more about how. If you go to my website, there's a link on Inner Metrics, and you'll get some more information about.
Absolutely, and I think those kinds of tools can be really helpful for working, in either in teams or anywhere else that you're working. I've had training to do the Myers-Briggs and a whole load of other psychometric tools, and once you do get an understanding of what someone's preferences are in terms of how they work or how they interact, you can then adapt and you can play a role so that you create the most. Exactly. So if you know that somebody is very task-focused and really doesn't do the nicey-nicey stuff, going in with, all of the kind of nicey-nicey stuff is just going to piss them off. It is, and you're not going to get the job done. And think about your own style. What when someone approaches you to get you to do something, what's your preference for people to ask you to do things?
Oh, so because we don't like being bossed about, right?
I don't. Some people do. Some people do. And that was what I was going to talk about. The other assistant I had, he liked to be told what to do, exactly what to do.
Wow.
And if you didn't tell him exactly what to do and what was expected at the end of it, he would go into absolute meltdown, and he would just kind of stress and not do it well. And of course, so then, hang on, I'm trying to multitask, and that's not, in my interesting point of view, is that men can't do that. So,
am I mimicking you?
And who was doing the manipulation? Was he manipulating me to control him by going to meltdown, or was I manipulating him to get the job done by giving him exactly what I knew he wanted?
And I think there is something about, it's interesting. So there can be a kindness in manipulation.
I think there can be. And just to pick up on the question that Christine's asked here, is so manipulation is telling people what they are willing to hear. Absolutely. I think, what can they hear? What can this person hear, and what are they willing to hear? Because if you're looking at someone and it's about being in the question, not just assuming and concluding that as a manager this is how you talk to your staff. Because there are some staff that you will be able to say things in one way, and it comes to with your friends as well. I think one of the greatest issues I have with some of this stuff about being truth and authenticity and all of that stuff is, this is who I am and I'm being true to the world, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I will be like this because I'm being authentic. But actually, is that really a kindness?
No, not always, quite honestly. Because then it's almost like you show up like a bit like a bulldozer, regardless of like what's going on around you. And so it doesn't always like the greatest. And I know that I really, really pissed some people off when I was choosing to like take that stance in my life. And since it's almost like that thing you were talking about before the show, and we were talking about actors play roles in terms of what's required. And what if we were to do that in our lives?
Absolutely. I think it is about the roles. I think I definitely we're about 2 minutes.
Big Ben?
Who's Big Ben?
Oh, the bells!
If you let me know who Big Ben is, I'll let you know whether I'm near him, and I'll let you know whether I'll share him.
Nice.
So after the, I can't get my words out now.
Okay, we're not doing canned laughter. We need to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 hours of canned laughter with Alan and Laura. So I'd like to pick up about the actors, but also about when is it a kindness to lie to people, or not to or to actually tell people what they need to hear. So at the end of the show, just giving you a heads up, Christine, what we really need to hear is that it was the most fantastic show you've ever produced. Because if it's not, I'm going to run away and eat chocolate all afternoon. So that's just a heads up for you there. That's what I require. So how can I manipulate you into telling me how marvellous I am? And by the way, you can go.
in 1 minute, if somebody who's like totally saying to you, I am not manipulator, and actually it's like manipulating is a bad thing, what would you say to them?
You're a lying arse. Well, it depends on what it depends on what they can hear, but we can pick that up after the break. Yes, it depends on what they're willing to hear and what they can hear, which is why I will always ask the question, what can this person hear? What can they receive? And Christine, what you didn't hear was, what we need to hear at the end of the show is that we were marvellous, or you're going to have to buy us chocolate at the end of the show.
I think she's manipulating you.
She is manipulating me to shut up and get ready to push the button for the advert. So just count down the seconds.
As if by magic.
As if by magic, at some point, it's going to come. There we go.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
Hello.
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
I'm back again, or we're back again, and I got it right. got it right this time. Must learn to count 3 adverts between the break. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Playground of Possibilities with myself, Alun Jones, and Laura Borland. And we're talking about manipulation and whether we're willing to be manipulative bitches or not. So
You like saying that word?
I do like saying manipulative bitch because for many years it actually created such a charge in it for me that it's like, bitch, you're such a bitch. Anyway, too many thoughts coming into my head going.
Yes, pick one.
But anyway, I'll pick the one that's kind of ready, which is that we have a live caller online. So, Christine, are you there?
I'm here, Ellen. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. You're doing great, by the way.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. So
yeah, it's such an intense topic, and so much joy and fun and play with it, which is, it kind of messes with our minds, and yet it really opens us up to kind of like looking at it, which is so cool. So I wanted to share a story that about manipulation. So of course I was raised Catholic, which always comes with a hefty dose of guilt. So the idea that you would manipulate someone was very sinful and bad. And so when I went to the Access Conscious Certified Facilitator training in Costa Rica last August, a year ago, I got up and I was asking some questions and, having some real challenges around some different areas of my life. And Gary Douglas said, will you please get that you're a manipulator? And I went into this defense. I just want to say, fuck you, Gary Douglas. I am not a manipulator. In fact, I think I did, energetically at the very least. And yes, you can swear on this show if you'd like. I really put up a ton of resistance to it. And he said, no, you are a manipulator. You need to get how brilliant a manipulator you are. And I was just like, what are you saying? To use the word manipulator and the word brilliant together, to me, was an absolute contrast, right? It was like, what? I didn't get it, right? So I really had my interesting point of view about what he had said to me, and I kind of carried it around in my backpack for a while. And about a month later, I was at home, and where I was living, my landlord needed to replace the toilet. It wasn't working. And so I texted him, and I said, when you do that, do you think it'd be possible to replace the bathroom sink because it's rusting a little bit, and I would really appreciate that. And he said, yeah, we can do that. And I said, and do you think it would be, I think you're the best landlord ever. And would I be pushing it? Would be pushing it, wink, wink, if I asked for new taps too? And he just laughed. He laughed and he said, "Of course you can have new taps, Christine." So he knew I was deliberately manipulating him, and he enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it, and I got what I wanted, and he got a smile from me.
And that's the thing. Imagine if we could actually have fun with manipulation, because we know when we're being manipulated.
Yeah.
But, it's like, what if it could be fun and expansive and actually could be something that, it's like that we laughed at rather than be like, that's terrible, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten over that that interesting point of view. And Gary Douglas was right, and the next time I saw him, I paid him $1.
So Christine, what would you say to anybody who was really kind of like in that space that you were when, in terms of that are up and about manipulation being bad, and in case they're listening going, what are these crazy people talking about manipulation?
Yeah.
Of course it's a terrible thing.
I think for me, what I do is I actually ask them, tell me what you believe manipulation is. I want it to invite them into looking at what it is for them and what they believe that it is. So for me, it was a bad thing. It was an evil thing. It was being unkind to somebody. Mm-hmm. And I didn't I needed to see a different perspective on it. And so in asking someone what do you believe manipulation is, and then asking them some questions around that. So if you were, did you, give them an example, like you were talking about, Alan, with the child and the mother, and so if you were to say to your daughter, honey, if would you do this for me? I'm very, very tired, and you were to bat your eyes at them, would you consider that? Would you consider that manipulation? Well, maybe. And just kind of inviting them into small little examples, because if there's a great deal of resistance there, they'll put up more walls, but giving them some gentle, easy suggestions, and then eventually, they can expand upon that. But we manipulate people in every corner of our lives, and that's not what we call it. We call it tricking people, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's like when I was listening to you there, it made me think, wow, so what if we just played with people?
Yeah.
Because it's the playing. It's like when you were talking about batting your eyelids. That's playful.
Yeah, and the other person likes when I bat my eyes.
Exactly. And we don't. Sorry, on you go.
I was going to say, isn't seduction?
No, I go. You go. No, I'm joking.
So isn't seduction all about manipulation?
Yes. And what's your definition of seduction?
Well, someone who wants to get my pants off. I want to be seduced, frankly, and there are certain things that I expect that people say really nice things to me and all those kinds of stuff. If you want to get in there, then and that's and I know I'm being manipulated.
That I just jumped back into a space in my life. I used to sell cosmetics, skincare, and makeup in home shows, and people would say to me, "Christine, you're too hard to say no to and all this stuff." But all I would say to them, when they would say, they would not come straight out and say, "No, I don't want to buy that." They would say, "Well, I don't have enough money," or "I don't know how to do it," or "I've never done it before." Whatever they would give me, what they were actually saying to me was, "Seduce me into a yes."
Yeah.
And so what I would say, well, this is how much money it would cost you each day. How do you have 3 minutes in the morning and 3 minutes at night to pamper you? Don't you deserve to, feel good? And so I would just keep giving them what they were asking for. They did not say no to me. So I would just keep giving it, and then they would say yes, and they'd say, "Oh, you're just too terrible." And I'm like, "Yep." And I didn't care. I didn't have a point of view around them saying that because they said yes. I didn't hold a gun to their head.
Do you know what's really interesting about that as well is like listening to you saying that and thinking, so actually there was almost like the guilty pleasure, and so people were blaming you for like almost them being powerless and you saying, "Hey, it's like I can't say no to you," so then it's your fault, and it's like so then they feel lighter.
Well, I think what it was, Laura, is they oftentimes were not willing to say yes to them.
Yes.
So it was easier for them to blame me so that somebody wouldn't say, you're being selfish or you're being arrogant in buying that for you and, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And how much as well is it, as you're right, it is that thing around forcing the blame on somebody else to manipulate us into choosing something that we actually really wanted to choose in the first place. Mm-hmm. So we see manipulation as somebody else's way, of blaming somebody else for a choice that we actually wanted to make but felt too guilty to do it unless we were manipulated. So therefore, aren't you manipulating somebody to manipulate you into buying it?
Yeah. And Nancy
says, that's a bit of a...
Yeah, no, it's true. And Nancy says, and maybe they wanted confirmation that they were worth the money or the treat. Exactly.
Absolutely.
People want to. People have not stepped into choosing truly for them, and then they are buying that we are controlling them. When what they are actually doing is manipulating us into saying what they desire so they can choose it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
you
they
said it better than
that...
I was trying to say it.
Yeah, and it's like, and actually, isn't it funny? People wouldn't call that manipulation. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have strong judgments around that word, but when you really take out a dictionary and dissect a word, and it begins to change the charge on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does when you start to look at it from a different perspective, and then also begin to start asking questions about, okay, where am I not acknowledging where I am manipulating? Because if you're not aware of where you're currently manipulating, how can you use that to create more for everyone? Because that's, again, where I would take this for me. It's like manipulation, as we said, is so often seen as being a negative or a bad or whatever, an excuse. But what if, as you said, Christine, you are a fantastic manipulator. So where can we manipulate for people to empower themselves, to feel better about themselves, to create more for others? I mean, as a coach, that's kind of where I'm at. And, what I'm doing with people is saying to them, okay, well, how can I kind of work with these people so that they believe more in themselves?
Right. That's absolutely. We are manipulating each other all of the time.
Yeah.
And we just call it by many other names. And the one thing that I would say, and then I'm going to let you guys wrap up your show, is you cannot manipulate someone that is not willing to be manipulated.
Absolutely.
No.
And that statement for me, I think that was the statement that got me unhooked, and I would replay that in my head over and over and over and over again. And when I really got it, when I was comfortable with it, I stepped into using the tool of manipulation for everyone's greater good. So I completely agree with you on that one, Alan.
Brilliant.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing with us, Christine. That's really helpful.
Yes. You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So I think we're almost just about to head for a break, and I'll see if I can shut up at the right time this time. And then when we come back, I actually want to share a quick story about something that happened with me where I got Bill to manipulate me because it was something that I required at the time. So how can we use someone else manipulating?
Interesting.
Well, you have to wait till after the break, and then you'll have to see. Where is it? Yeah. So an interesting story that we're aware of. So oh, hang on, that's my note. That's blown my head, Christine. I can't read that. So can you get that, Laura? Because I can't compute it.
So I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm thinking we're just going to go to sleep.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Playground of Possibilities with myself, Alun Jones, and my colleague, co-host, Laura Borland. Colleague? Well, you know, it's another manipulative word, isn't it? Does it bring up lightness or heaviness for you?
That didn't work.
I couldn't remember the word co-host.
I think when you said my beautiful co-host, I was there.
All right. So that you need to hear, is it? My beautiful co-host.
Thank
Laura. Yeah, as Carol's just said, I'm a quick learner. I'll write that down. Beautiful co-host. That's how I manipulate Laura. So let me just say let's go back to this story with myself and Bill, my partner, and he'd been out all day and I was at home, and I'd had one of those days where I just blitzed the house for some reason. Just really, really cleaned it, and he came in tired from being at work, and he said, "Oh, you know, the house looks tidy," and it was just that was it. That was all he said, and I was thinking, I've worked my fucking arse off all day, and I really need someone to come in and tell me how marvelous and wonderful and gorgeous it is, and all of that kind of stuff. And I said, "Would you mind doing me?" And rather than going to kind of, "You're really mean to me, and you're really horrible, and you don't appreciate me," what I actually did was, "Can you do me a really big favour?" And he just looked at me, and as I was grinning, and I said, "Can you go out and walk back in and go, do you know what, thank you so much for doing this. It's, you know, the house is marvellous, it's beautiful. Really play it up for me, because that's what I really need to hear." And bless him, it's one of the reasons why I love him so much. He walked out and he came back in and he said, "Oh my God, you've done the clean. Isn't it marvellous?" And he really he really laid it on thick. And that was all I needed. You know, it was fantastic. I felt fantastic.
Isn't it so funny?
You know, he was willing to do that for me. So, yes, I manipulated him to go and do that for me by saying to him, "That's what I really need from you right now." And he went and did it. And
what if it could be that much fun?
Absolutely. Are you willing to tell people how you want to be manipulated? Because that's the thing. It's like when
Carol
you want
says
to be...
she's taking notes. Sorry.
So, absolutely right. So, so for me, it's like, what's required with this manipulation? So to wrap everything up that we've had today is when you notice yourself resisting and reacting to manipulation, perhaps ask a question, because that's where where we can create the most from. Where am I being manipulated here? Where am I unwilling to manipulate? Where am I manipulating that I haven't acknowledged?
Absolutely. And what's beyond this thing that I'm calling manipulation? What contribution could it be, and what could it create for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's the thing. It's like, what's required here, and how can I use how can I use manipulation here, or what manipulation is required that would create more for everyone? Because as you say, it's not about taking advantage. It's not about making someone else less than. It's about what will create the most.
Do you know, it's fun, just a really quick story. I have a nephew who's 4, and I absolutely love when he does this. Totally out of the blue, he'll just go, "Mummy, I love you." And everybody I just look at him and I just think, that's just awesome. That's awesome manipulation. Well done him. Because she's like, "Oh, I love you too." It's like, and I just look at his wee face and I think, he's great at this.
And what parent doesn't like to be told by their children that they're lovely and marvellous and wonderful? And I know I would do that to my own mother, Mum, I really love you. You're the most beautiful mummy in the whole wide world, da-da-da-da, and can I have some sweets now, please?
Exactly.
Did it always work? No, but that's a different story. But yeah, I think, because that's the thing. It's like, where can I use it? Not just to get for me, but for other people. And where am I? Because the thing is, if you're not willing to acknowledge where you're being manipulated, you will be surprised. And
Absolutely.
people, if you're not willing to be aware of manipulation, then you are going to be manipulated to hell. So
we've got a couple of minutes, and I'm thinking, are there any classes that you would like to mention, Alan?
Actually, there is just one that I'd like to mention at the moment, and tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock UK time, which is, I think, 2 o'clock Eastern American time, I'm doing a Google Hangout with Heather Nichols. We're doing it about money, it's a free Google Hangout, which is all about how to have more ease and peace with money.
Yay!
And yeah, absolutely. And how can we use money to manipulate? How can we manipulate? Yeah, all of that stuff. What would it take to be manipulative with money in a great way that creates more money for everyone? So maybe I'll ask Heather that question while we're doing it tomorrow. What we will do is we'll post a link for the Google Hangout on our page as well. So definitely do that. So you can find the Google Hangout. It will be on our page after the end of the show. And if you have any questions at all, you can always message us on our page on Facebook, which is www.facebook.com/lifewithplay.
I love that, life with play.
I know, isn't it awesome?
Why would you not have life with play? I've had life with no play, and it sucked.
It totally does. It's not, why would you not have, and how can we manipulate to have more play in life? How can we manipulate to have more fun in life? So we've got probably about a minute or so left, not even that, probably 40 seconds. So
can I just say thank you, because this has just been awesome fun. It's like we're going to get to do this all again next week. How exciting is that?
Absolutely. What are we talking about next week?
Yeah, next week we're talking about who do you not want to play with, or who won't you play with? Who won't you play with? So if you've enjoyed this day, it would be absolutely great to have you back with us next week. If you're looking to find Alan, it's like you can get him on Alan. What's the thing? Quick.
Alan-Jones.com.
Or me at lauraborland.com. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alan Jones. We hope you enjoyed playing with us today and that you'll come play with us next Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm. Until then, what would it take for you to enjoy playing with choices and possibilities to create more fun, more magic, and more of everything